This is a rare car with a phenomenal story. We're gonna wash and tell you about it today.
I'm Ivan.
I'm Nick.
And this is DIY Detail. This is a 1984 Slant Nose Porsche. And the special story, you can Google after you watch this, it was owned by Ron Rice. And it was the Special Wishes program from Porsche. The Special Wishes program from Porsche back in the 80s was you sat down and you spec'd out anything you wanted and they did it. And Ron Rice was the owner of a race team that Paul Newman raced for. He was also the owner of Hawaiian Tropic, so a very colorful guy. Remember that famous movie, Cannonball Run, the Countach that's in it? He actually loaned it to the production crew because they couldn't get one from Lamborghini. He loaned him his car. So, interesting guy, Ron Rice. Look up, there's a few documentaries on him. And you'll actually see this car in those documentaries. This car was purchased and the last owner bought it in 2013. From 2014 to 2017, it went through a 100% nut and bolt restoration. Everything on this car that isn't important to be numbers matching has been done. Every bolt on this car is brand new. It's amazing. After the restoration, it also went through the Porsche certification program. So very expensive program, but Porsche certified it as factory new. And this car is in phenomenal shape. Little things too from that Special Wishes program. All these Slant Noses, or most of them, have vents on the top of the fender. Mr. Rice didn't like those vents, so they custom made fenders for him as part of that Special Wishes program. In 1984, just to give you a bit of context, this was $240,000 in 1984.
It's like you're having a new car in that era. Like, what would it feel like in 1984 to have a new Porsche? Is that what this is, or is there stuff on here that's new and wouldn't have been as...
No, this is as manufactured.
So we're kind of going back in time. We're combining the old and the new with this car with actually a hybrid wash method, Ivan.
Right, so we'll be combining old and new here. We will be foaming it, but then washing it with rinseless wash. And the paint, well, it's been through storage, it's been through all sorts of things since it was painted in 2017. So it's almost a 10-year-old paint job. It's still in really good shape. The car since 2017 has gone 145 miles. Not 145,000, 145 miles. So this paint hasn't seen a lot of action, but it's probably seen a lot of California dusters because that's what the damage looks like on it.
And there's enough dust and just dirt that's sort of floating in the air that I don't want to do a hose-free wash here. I want to really douse it with the Incredible Suds, let it emulsify, pull things down, rinse it, and then do... Anyway, we'll do the rinseless wash after that. But I'd like to can we show and tell?
Yeah, show and tell. And it's just a phenomenal vehicle. It's a lot of fun, a lot of history here. I'm going to be starting with our friend Incredible Suds because Nick wanted to foam it up, so foaming he's getting.
Before you do that, a classic car like this, would I want to use all clean on the wheels and tires, or are we being more careful with this finish?
So these are polished aluminum wheels. Yes, if they were dirty, I would use all clean. They're super clean, so I'm just going to be using Incredible Suds and the rinseless wash. You don't need anything more than that. Polished aluminum, some of it can be sensitive, and we don't want to take the risk. Plus, there's no dirt on these wheels. They're no dirtier than the rest of the bodywork. This came out, it was delivered to us by a transport truck, the enclosed haulers, and here it sits. And who doesn't love an iconic whale tail?
I was gonna ask you what was the most satisfying part of that, because I loved watching the foam, Ivan.
It's just, I like the lines of the car. It's not a car I would own. It's not a car that particularly interests me in terms of driving dynamics and stuff. These with their, the turbocharged flat six at the back in the day, they were sort of a handful to drive. Now, a lot of fun, but it's not something I would own. It has one piece that's excessive to me, and that is the piece of metal that goes from here to here. But that's me.
You love convertibles.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you as well, in terms of letting the Incredible Suds drip on the paint here. Is there any concern on a classic vehicle that we could see any etching? Would you do this in direct sunlight? Like, what should I know about foaming, especially a rare car or maybe an older vintage car?
The same thing. As a detailer, you should impart the same care to every vehicle you wash. Whether it's a priceless one-off classic or a run-of-the-mill car. It doesn't matter. The same techniques, the same care needs to be taken.
Okay, well this is the foam rinse foam method, Ivan.
Yeah. Now, arguably, these Slant Nose, they're very rare. They only made close to 1,000 of them. But to me, the most iconic part of this car is the whale tail.
You love the whale tail.
It just signifies Porsche turbo, it signifies power. The excess of the 80s, it's all there. The wide fenders, everything, it's just an iconic piece. Now, instead of foam rinse foam, we're gonna be washing this with rinseless wash. So, I have rinseless wash in my keg. We've rinsed off the foam. Nick's gonna get some more of that foam off the floor.
I love Incredible Suds, Ivan, but if we go pure rinseless from start to finish, there is less water to squeegee.
A lot less water.
But foam is fun.
Yeah, so getting a nice bath of rinseless wash on there. To act as a basis for the lubrication for our wash media.
What are you focusing on, Ivan, to be ultra safe here in this dispersion of rinseless wash on the vehicle?
Again, Nick, no different than any other car.
I just am so enamored with this thing.
Right.
To think of it all being new, how much money must have gone into that process?
$330,000 in receipts for that restoration.
Isn't that wild? I don't know. Folks, tell us what you think in the comments, because it just feels this is like his living history, this vehicle.
It is. It's a very interesting vehicle for sure. It's a lot of fun. And, it's unfortunately the kind of car that's probably going to end up on the wall in a New York apartment or something like that.
You don't think it's going to be driven much, is what you're saying?
I doubt this will see the road too often.
We are going to be polishing and ceramic coating this in a future video, Ivan.
Yes.
Why ceramic coat a non-daily driver, a show car, a garage queen?
To protect it. Let's say this goes in a museum and the museum keepers are, they like their California car duster. Well, this is gonna help protect it against that. If it does go out on the road, gets a bird dropping on it because it's at Amelia Island or something like that, then the paint's going to be protected.
And it is the ultimate protection. So
yes.
You want that chemical resistance and that sacrificial layer, so to speak.
Yep.
But wow, I feel like I should be waxing this car.
We could wax it, but we're going to be doing a coating because that's what the owner of the car asked us for.
So Ivan, I want to clarify, why are we doing a hybrid wash here?
The hybrid wash basically saves a bit of water, first of all, and it's fun. And to me, with the rinseless wash, you can see what you washed better than with soap. So with all these little nooks and crannies that this vehicle has, we'll be able to see everywhere, like under the whale tail and things like that.
Wait, I'm listening, but where's the squeegee at?
No squeegee. This is for our wash brush. Now, people have said no one should wash a car with a brush. We designed a brush specifically to wash cars. And just to show you, even on a most priceless classic, we're going to use a brush. Now, I'm not going to use a brush everywhere, just to show you I'll do the top and the hood, because the sponge actually can get into places better than a brush can. But if you've got a pickup truck, if you've got a larger vehicle, and you're concerned, or you're like me and you have a bad back and you don't want to be bending over down there, that's where the brush comes in.
Do we clean our wheels first, or when does one clean wheels in the car wash process, Ivan?
Well, in this case, the wheels are probably as clean, if not cleaner than the body. So we're just going to rinseless wash them with the sponge. We don't need anything else. So it's not a concern. And this, like I said, this might freak the odd person out, but I have no qualms washing a car with a brush.
A car worth hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. This is as safe as any wash media, and actually safer than the microfiber wash media that people like to use.
Okay, how often do you redunk? I just noticed the redunk process.
Same as you would with a sponge. So one panel, one dunk. It's that simple. Now, contrary to the sponge, this isn't absorbing the rinseless wash off the surface. This is depositing more and flushing. So it's a slightly different way of looking at it, but it's still doing a great job. Now, contrary, like I said, if you have a bad back, this makes life so much easier.
That's incredible, actually, because it's really hard to get down there whether your back is good or bad.
Yeah.
Let's talk about microfiber. Let's talk about this brush.
Yeah.
Microfiber, it does a great job, especially on interiors. You ever tried using it? It just finds a way to grab all that dirt and hold onto it. So it dislodges the dirt from what you're trying to clean.
Yeah.
But then that dirt doesn't go anywhere.
No, exactly. And that's the problem with a microfiber. It holds on to dirt. This brush, with the flushing action, with the flag tip nylon, and it's a long flag tip. So it's holding a lot of liquid in the brush. So when I bring the brush out of here, you can see it's not dripping or barely dripping. So on the verge of dripping, as we always say. But when I bring it over here, you can see how much liquid is coming out of the brush. And that is the advantage of a good flag tip nylon brush.
Okay, so I like the idea of more rinseless going on the surface, which provides lubrication, but that's not the only point you wanted to make there.
Well, no pressure points as well. That's another thing. Look at the thickness of this. There's no pressure points.
It feels incredibly soft. I just want another. And again, flag tip nylon brush, we say it so often. What does it actually mean?
So the bristle of the brush, and you can see here, from here forward, it's like split ends in hair. So it's just flagging out. You have a solid strand, and then here, it just splits. So think of your arm with the fingers at the end. Same idea. So use your sponge on the other side there, Nick.
Okay, that's where I feel more comfortable. I just had to watch that. I had to see it with my own eyes.
So like I said, some people will freak out about this, and we hear you typing away, never use a brush on a car, never use that. We've done a lot of research and development. I've done a lot of research and development. I feel confident using this. So, and you'll see the paint afterwards. It is a little scratched up from the California car duster, but there's going to be no more scratches on my side than Nick's side.
Ivan, I'm still nervous about it. I can't wait for the reveal. Meantime, I know how the Legacy sponge has served me on hundreds, if not thousands, of car washes and details. It's a no pressure point sponge. It's got the slits in there in case there's anything large that happens to still be on the paint.
Yep.
Ivan, it's your baby. What do you want to tell folks about the Legacy sponge if they're not going to use a brush on paint? If they're not ready or they just don't have one?
Yeah. And by the way, it's standard thread for a broom, so not an issue there. And never, when you're done with your brush, put it down on the ground. Always put it head up. You know, one way of looking at the brush, it's the big brother to the wheel and body brush. The wheel and body brush that we use on wheels all the time, and we use on grills and all that fun stuff. The clear coat on your wheels is just as sensitive as the clear coat on the rest of your vehicle. Now, we use that as a demonstration here. I actually prefer the brush with soap because rinseless works better when you're absorbing it off the surface. That's why we have the Legacy sponge. You can see just how flooded the roof is on this side, whereas on Nick's side, he's absorbed a lot of the liquid off. And if I'm using my sponge, as we always say, on the verge of dripping, watch what happens with all that standing moisture. It gets absorbed into the sponge. By getting absorbed into the sponge, any dirt that was on the surface is now here.
On the verge of dripping, is that exactly what we want to think about with the brush, or how should we think about it with the brush?
So the brush, like I said, is actually better suited to a soap wash. Because with a soap wash, you want to flood the surface. You want your wash mitt to be soaked when you're putting it on the surface. And that's what's happening here as well. So yes, we can use the brush with rinseless wash. It's perfectly fine. But on the other hand, I actually designed it more for a soap wash.
I'd like to go back to basics for a second. Speaking of a soap wash,
Yep.
the foam rinse foam method.
Yes.
The chemical rinse chemical, the foam rinse chemical. however you want to describe it. You're sandwiching a rinse in between two chemicals, and then you're going about your wash process.
Right.
What is the logic behind that? No matter whether you're doing something like this or an old jalopy.
We've taken the grit off the surface. By taking the grit off the surface, now all we're dealing with is traffic film. And judging by the mileage on this car since 2017, I doubt it has any traffic film on it. I think the most traffic it's seen was going from the back of the truck into this shop. So Nick, we've washed it. It's time to decontaminate. Because we're going to be polishing and coating this vehicle. And yes, it might have contamination on it. There's a good chance it doesn't, but it might just have a bit of contamination. And if we think it has contamination, we're going to decontaminate it.
Well, I was just thinking about that. I almost didn't ask you, like, what if there's a detailer out there who hasn't been doing that this long?
Yeah.
They get good word of mouth referrals. Next thing you know, they're in the right neighborhood, who knows the right person. Next thing, you're having a rare vehicle in your care.
Yeah.
You might be like, do I clay this? Do I decon it? Can I use water spot remover, iron remover? What do I know? What do I not know? You might be faking it until you make it in that situation.
Right. In our case, we know that our products work. They're safe on all these surfaces, and that's how we're going to use them.
Well, and I'm glad we're going to decon and explain why.
So as I mentioned, next step, perforated synthetic decontamination towel and iron remover. Why are we using iron remover? We want the lubrication on the surface from the rinseless wash, but we also want the lubrication from the iron remover. Plus, if there are any iron particles on this, it's going to help dislodge and remove those little rust stains. On this color car, you'll never see the rust stains. It's pretty close to the same color. But you are using the lubrication and everything else. One spray on the panel, one spray on the towel, match them up, and away we go.
Ivan, I'm struck by the fact that not only is this a classic car detail, this is actually how we teach to detail, like every vehicle. So it's back to what you said earlier, treat it with the same care that you do with every detail.
Yeah, there is no difference between cleaning this 1984 Porsche and cleaning a 1984 Toyota Tercel. The Tercel, unfortunately, may not have any clear coat left, but that being said, if it was well taken care of, it's the same thing.
So let's talk about the basics then.
Yeah.
Iron remover on the bed of lubrication that is rinseless wash.
Yeah.
No pressure on our decontamination towel, which was soaking in our rinseless wash bucket.
Right. We have all the lubrication we need. We have all the paint safety we need. And all the decontamination prowess we need.
Why would you decontaminate paint in the first place?
To make sure that it's clean, to make sure that it has no contaminants or bonded contaminants on it, because washing doesn't remove everything. And at that point, when we're polishing, our polishing pads will last longer, they'll be cleaner, and it's a lot safer. You know, it's a little, 10-minute operation that we're doing?
Yep.
It's worth spending that extra 10 minutes.
Any consideration about the plastics or the glass? I'm decontaminating glass, Ivan, but plastics might be something folks might wonder about.
Not an issue.
So lightly.
Same as you would with any car, Nick. If this were a 2025 Hyundai, you'd treat it the same way.
It's all happening and it's all very easy, just like it is on every paint job, Ivan.
Right.
I'm gonna redunk my towel.
Yep.
After 4 sections, I like to do that.
I'm there as well.
Why do we redunk it after 4 panels, Ivan?
So if we did pick up any contamination, when we redunk it in the bucket, it goes back into the bucket, sinks to the bottom. Now we have also more of a rinseless wash on the surface, or if you're using Incredible Suds, more Incredible Suds. Both wash buckets will do.
Be honest. Are you feeling much contamination on your towel?
None at all, which is a good thing.
Yeah, it feels very smooth to me.
The car was well maintained.
So even if I'm not polishing, I can decontaminate my paint?
Yeah, 100%. And it's something, not on a trailer or garage queen like this, but on a vehicle that sees the road daily, you might want to do this every 3 to 6 months. If it's not garage kept at night, I want to do it every 3 months. If it's garage kept, 6 months is a good number.
No pressure at all on this towel.
Nope.
one thing decontamination will do is actually brighten up the paint without polishing at all.
Right, because we're removing that little layer of contamination that we don't see, we don't feel, but it's there.
I was just able to get one piece of what looked like a little black speck after 2 passes to disappear on me. So I swapped my side of the towel, and I kept working. I know I didn't need to, Ivan.
Yep.
If folks are wondering about that, like, oh, where's the contaminants going? There's no way this could be safe.
They're going onto the towel, actually into the perforations, and this is sort of a rubbery feeling substance, the polymer matrix that's on here. When we dunk it back into the bucket, it leaves the towel, goes into the bucket, picks up fresh rinseless wash, and we're back onto the vehicle.
Anything about direct sunlight versus in a nice garage that you'd change in terms of technique?
You might want to do half the car and then do the other half later. 1 half at a time. Nick's just finishing up at the back. I will start at the front, rinsing it off. Our iron remover is dried on the roof. I'm not concerned about that. It's not a big deal. The last step in any great decontamination is water spot remover. Now, think of it as a mineral cleanse.
With water spot remover, there's 2 ways you can go. So you can just spray it on the paint and you can rinse it off, or you can spray it on and you can agitate it in. Either way is going to work, Ivan. But let's talk about why we would want to agitate it in and what the goal of water spot remover really is.
So the goal, like I mentioned, is a mineral cleanse. We're trying to remove any minerals off the surface. Now, why you want to agitate it in, it's going to do a better job. The other thing is, you don't have to spray as much on the surface. Since you're moving it around with the towel, it's going to go everywhere. You don't have to spray everywhere.
And that's what I'm doing right now, is preparing my rinseless wash dampened towel.
Yep.
Now this does not mean a sopping wet towel. We mean damp. How do you educate folks who hear you but maybe don't take it all the way?
So wring it out as much as you can, and when you think you've wrung it out enough, give it another twist.
All right. Okay, I think it's pretty damp. Any amount of dwell time I need to give this before I begin the agitation step?
No, the agitation and then dwell, as opposed to dwell and agitate.
Either way, we're building in steps to the process, redundancies, right? We want not only for the water spot remover to hit the paint, but gently, by agitating it, I feel like we're getting it deep into the pores. I could be just overthinking it, as detailers often do.
Like Nick, I have my rinseless dampened towel. And we don't flip sides on the towel. That's another thing that's very important. We're trying to distribute the water spot remover. We're not trying to remove it off the surface.
So we have water spot remover on our paint.
Yep.
But it kind of reminds me of rinseless wash in that you can sort of see where you've been and where you haven't. Can you talk about that?
You can very much see where you've been and where you haven't. That way, you know what's been done and what hasn't been done. And that's a nice visual cue. Like the Nick's little widow's peak here, the top of the windshield. And Nick's got a nice little stripe on the hood that was just pointed out by our lovely camera woman.
Exactly, you can see where you've missed.
Yeah.
I mean, don't think I didn't leave that there for you to find so we could show an educational moment, Ivan.
Yeah, right.
Right here? Is that it? Yeah. I mean, but what would it look like? I mean, I probably missed it. Let's be honest, guys. That's why we spray and we lightly agitate.
Yeah.
So that even if I had missed that, there's a chance that the water spot remover would have done at least something, Ivan.
Yeah.
When might one want to just spray it on, let it dwell, and then hose it off?
When you're feeling lazy.
Okay.
But the agitation, especially after doing decontamination like we did with the decontamination towel, we washed it, we did everything. There's no grit left on the surface. There's not even traffic film. And my towel unfolded itself, but I happen to know which side was in contact. So there we go. One final rinse, we dry the vehicle, and we're done. Now, one thing that's important, don't put this back in your wash bucket. You want to wring it out first, rinse it with fresh, clean water, and then you can launder it with the rest of your towels.
The water beading is sensational.
Yes.
It came back with water spot remover. It wasn't there before.
Because we uncovered the paint itself. Now, who's to say there's not a ceramic coating on this vehicle? We don't know. We know that in a couple hours there will be a ceramic coating on this vehicle. This is a towel for you, Nick.
This is the drying blanket. This is a best-selling towel at DIYdetail.com.
It sure is. It's such a best-selling towel that we keep ordering more and more every time we double and triple our order size, and we still manage to run out.
Why is the drying blanket a special towel?
It's a very unique weave of towel. It's a micro twist loop. And the micro twist loop, so if we compare this, let me get a Diva towel. We have some Diva towel here from our friends at the House of Rags.
One helpful tip as I'm hitting on the glass here is our drying blanket actually works better when it's a little wet. So I'll prime the towel on glass often and then use it on paint.
So this is what's known as a twist loop towel. This is a micro twist loop. This is the same structure as here, but much, much smaller and tighter. So twist loop, micro twist loop.
Folks may wonder, does water spot remover secretly add a layer of protection? Is that why the water beads come back after I see you guys use water spot remover in your videos?
Not at all. It just removes anything that's on the paint. And that's what confuses people, because people rarely see raw, unadulterated paint. There's always some form of contamination on it. And when we completely decontaminate a vehicle, it ends up the way this one is. We look at it, it's brighter than it was.
You mentioned you don't know if there's a ceramic coating on here. So I guess to the uninitiated or the folks who might be overthinking this, I can ceramic coat a coated car?
Yeah, we'll be polishing. And in polishing, we'll be getting rid or abrading that potential ceramic coating that could be there. Now, there could be a wax on this. We don't know. That's where polishing comes in. Because with the polishing, we know that we have a clean surface.
I do know that it could bring some anxiety if you've never touched a vehicle of this rarity or quality or whatever you want to say. It's also difficult, Ivan, if you've never polished before.
Yeah, and polishing is very, very easy. It's something that a lot of detailers try to wrap mystery around, and that it's a difficult thing to do, and it takes lots of years of practice, especially with the rotary. The rotary is the easiest tool to learn.
What is a rotary?
Rotary is a very simple tool. It takes the pad, it spins it in one direction, uniformly, round and round.
And as I continue to dry, what's a dual action polisher?
Dual action turns the pad, but it also oscillates the pad. Remember I washed with a brush, right?
Yeah.
On one side of the hood, and the other side of the hood, you washed with a sponge. Over the last 20 some years that the sponge has been around, it's been adopted by so many people that people are copying my design. So we know that the sponge is good. The brush, I've been using brushes for a long time and developing brushes for different industries. Now I'm bringing one to detailing. And if we look at this side, we look at this side, I don't see a difference. Do you see a difference?
I cannot see a difference, Ivan.
No, it's the same on both sides. A perfectly safe brush is just that. It's perfectly safe. It is not dangerous as everyone will make you think it is. It's not your floor broom that you're using. It's a brush designed specifically for this job.
Ivan, I'm sold. I want more of this Porsche, but I also want to learn how to polish, because that's another thing that people might be afraid to do
Yeah, exactly.
if they've never done it before. So if I wanted to learn, hey, how can I learn polishing from Ivan LaCroix, where would I go?
You'd go to this video right here.